Johnny, good morning.
What is up, dude? Good morning.
How's everything going?
Doing good, man.
Yeah,
Doing good.
so I know we've had a lot of discussions over the last few weeks, and Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to everyone here as well. It is 2023. I hope everyone had a great holiday break, and we've been hitting the ground running. Fair to say, right?
Yeah. Business is exploding, not only for us, dude, but also for our clients. It seems like people were nervous in 2022 about like what's happening in
There's a lot of
23.
that.
Yeah, it's like people are completely like putting that thought process in the back burner and just getting it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what has to happen. And I know several of our discussions led us to the topic we want to talk about today, which is the importance of branding. And truth be told, from what I can tell, a lot of small businesses neglect that important aspect of their business. They don't put forth the effort that's really required to build that brand you need to differentiate yourself from the competition, build a good reputation, and really set forth how you want your business to be perceived by your customer base.
And the thing is, it's like people come to us and they're like, we're ready to get leads. We're ready to rank online. Let's get our website rocking and rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things that our team is great at, but one of the things we're really good at just kind of letting the customer know is it all starts with having a strong brand.
It does.
For sure.
It does.
So think about it for one quick second from like, if you take a step back and you think about the last time you searched for a company and you found a company online that it was, call it ABC America, right? And you're like, okay, so ABC, did you do that just to kind of jump in the front of the line in the directories? Or it's Aardvark Pest Control, right? It's not a bad name.
It's a great name.
Yeah, if anything, it kind of goes.
I like it.
But you don't want to be quite like everybody else in the game. So it's all about building a strong brand, something that people can relate to, find trustworthy, and you can build off of.
Well, that's an interesting note you just brought up, because you remember the old Yellow Pages days. Prior to digital marketing exploding like it has to this point, you used to have to name your business with A. Remember an AA pest control or an AA carpet cleaning. You know, you had to do that to be at the top of the Yellow Pages in your particular area. Crazy enough, is from that practice, do you feel like branding has somewhat taken a back seat in the scheme of things when it comes to building a business?
You know what? I think people are still caught in that legacy mindset, truth be told. I think that here in 2023, it's about creating experience, creating a next level experience, if you will. So Mrs. Jones isn't looking for a AAA plumbing anymore. She's looking for a McGuire's plumbing that it's all about the clover and the colors and how the core values are set up on the website, and how the teams portray with the uniforms, and how the systems roll out from McGuire's is on the way. Here's the technician. Here's a little bit about them. And here's what you can expect while we're on their property. Totally different than it used to be.
It sure is. So you kind of just highlighted what the importance of branding can do for a small business. I guess let's jump in right away and let's talk about some important bullet points that any small business can take action on today to improve your brand.
So my first thought is get after being unique. Be a business that doesn't just sit in the Google Maps section, but shines bright. A company that not only has a strong brand name, but is supported by an excellent reputation.
Well, yeah, I mean, the reputation goes so far, especially with today's day and age where most homeowners, most consumers, if you will, do their research and look at the reviews that a business has. They'll search on Google, they'll look on Facebook, they'll look on the many directories, Yelp, whatever the case may be. That consumer reputation goes so far, and you just hit the nail on the head with the importance of that brand to make sure you're delivering a good experience to your consumers.
Mm-hmm. And I would say, guys, to that point, the next thing you should focus on is making sure that your brand congruency is next level. What does that mean? Well, the best brands in small business, they don't just put out a random flyer. They don't just put out some sort of door hanger. They don't just run a Google ad, have a decent vehicle wrap, have some decent uniforms. The best small businesses in the country, everything looks like it should. So for example, their marketing collateral matches their vans matches their uniforms matches their yard signs, so on and so forth. That's how you must start thinking, because perception is reality, and especially in the game of business. So if you're showing up quite like that on the forefront, like on the outside, your customer is thinking, wow, they're that buttoned up. I can only imagine how good they are internally. Let's give them a shot.
For sure. And that builds a lot with the culture too inside the business. When you have all the front end aspects built properly as far as the branding, and then the culture inside with the employees believing in that brand and continuously driving forward to excel in that brand, it's tenfold with what can happen. But I do want to start here, Johnny. How are some things that any small business can do to clearly identify themselves? More so than just the colors and all that stuff, but what can they do to identify themselves and differentiate themselves from the competition?
Well, I think the first thing is it starts with the leadership in the business, because the behind the business, like they always say, like if you learned an E-Myth, if you've read the book E-Myth, which is incredible, right, by Michael Gerber, one of the things he preaches is a business is nothing more than a reflection of its owner. So if like your business is sloppy, you might want to look at the owner. The owner might be very sloppy.
It does start at the top.
Right? And if the business is completely well-oiled and it's just a machine, it says something about ownership. It says something about leadership. It means that this isn't a game and they're performing at a high level. So to answer your question, I think the biggest thing is that it starts with the top. It starts with the person who's driving. Because if that person can create a really clear mission, can create a laser targeted set of core values and a why to stand on, the brand, the colors, the logo, everything will just follow suit.
Okay. So what's the next step after that?
I mean, after you have your brand on, after you have like leadership is laser targeted, like he or she knows exactly what they stand for, right? So here's a perfect example. If I have a great friend in the home service business and he charges really hard, but it's not just an act. Behind the scenes, he's exercising, right? He's eating right. He's doing the meditations. He's doing the work. He's doing the stuff that matters, right, in business to perform at a very high level. Then he's holding himself to that standard and not veering off. So what that means is, in terms of business, now he's showing up into the business and creating those same practices. So his leadership's on point. His executive team's on point. His managers know what they're doing. Everybody's got a form and function that follows suit. So his brand is all about being completely efficient, speed. They're getting to the promised land fast. That means that there's systems in place. Their taglines are revolved around being the most efficient company in the market. Think about that. Think about that for 1 second.
Yeah, I see that going a long way, especially when there's accountability and all kinds of other sort of leadership tactics in place on that side.
100%.
There's no doubt about it.
Let me ask, dude, like if you were to give a piece of advice to somebody today and they're coming into the digital game and they're saying, let's get rocking and rolling, right? I'm a smart guy. I'm ready to be efficient. I'm ready to build out everything that, Majak just said. What piece of advice would you give to him in terms of like an actionable tip?
Well, I mean, based off everything you just said, they have to have it defined how they want their business to be perceived. I think that first and foremost, that's where it begins.
On paper, on purpose?
On paper, on purpose. We've said it plenty of times, and we practice that ourselves here in the office. So if they can identify exactly how they want their consumers to perceive them and their business, now all of a sudden the core values, everything comes into place. Have it all written out. Once it's on paper, and you can review it and really make sense of how you want to build your brand for the success of your business, because it's going to go a long way once it's actually done correctly at the foundation level.
Yep. And I would say also make sure that you're starting at the at the end result too. Like if you're stuck and you're not sure how to build a powerful brand, think 3 years, 5 years, maybe even 10 years ahead, and then reverse engineer it.
Okay.
Don't overthink it. Ultimately, if like you're looking to build a home service business that's next level, what do you want your team to represent, right? Like what colors do you want them to be running with? What vans do you see? Vans or trucks or rigs do you see out in the street? What billboards would you like to see? Things in that nature. Like start running and really envisioning that, reverse engineer it, and then start putting milestones in place to achieve just that.
I love it. And time and time again, we've always heard, let your brand tell the story, right? So I think a lot of what you're saying is essentially creating that story for your business through your brand.
No doubt. Think about somebody, let's go take a step outside of home service, and you're going to somebody like Apple. It's easy to say, we have phones and we want to give them to every consumer out there, right? But the thing about Apple and why they're so dynamic is there's a how component embedded into that, but even deeper, there's a why component into that. And the reason why Apple does what they do is they want to create the most incredible feeling and show people what it's like if life did not include their phone. So for example, all their messages are just like all emotionally driven, right? They're all about images and videos of their families and what life could be like if somebody chose to use their product. So it's like when you go that deep in your home service, everybody can serve a client, and then you go to the what, right? Everybody knows that you're going to show up, you're going to do a good job, you hopefully have the right training procedures, right technicians, but go deeper and embed into your business the why you're even doing it. And think about that, explore that, unpack that, and roll that out throughout the company.
Love it. Now, that brand obviously goes a long way. We've mentioned it goes on logos, color of your vehicles, the uniforms. Now, let's talk about the digital side of branding, right? Because that story that you're creating as you're developing your core values and the mission statement and all that good stuff has to be portrayed onto the website, has to be portrayed into the marketing campaigns, whether that's running paid ads, search, whatever the case may be. What are some actionable tips a small business owner can take and run with today?
So don't overthink it. Write it down. Like you said, John, like write it down on purpose right away. So the easy thing for me is I like to take complicated things and simplify them. So for example, I'll think about John's question and I'll say, all right, what does that mean offline? It means my trucks need to match my uniforms. Uniform needs to match my flyers, so on and so forth. But in terms of how to translate that online, it's the same exact exercise, but it needs to be done on the digital footprint. So for example, I want my website to match my social media to match my email to match my other efforts, such as maybe my other digital reach efforts. So it's all about being consistent on the digital side, but you have to write this down and then make sure you're executing on your strategy.
I love it.
So one other thing I want to talk on is the ROI principle. Not a lot of people understand this or even dive into this when it comes to branding. The ROI principle is relevant, original, and impactful. So real quick, I want to ask you, from your perspective, you deal with a lot of small business owners kind of on the back end. If you could coach somebody through this, what does relevant mean in terms of helping somebody build a ROI driven business? So relevant.
I think it begins with, I'll say it once again, that perception that your customer base, your audience will have on your business. If your branding is relevant and everything coincides with exactly what that customer is going to need for whatever service they're looking for, you're going to be top of mind when it comes to hiring a business to get it achieved.
How about original?
Original is more difficult because in today's day and age, it takes a lot of creativity to be original. I think it's the days of just being simple when it comes to business is a thing of the past because you just blend in. You're part of the herd. Being original takes that creativity so that you can stand out. The first thing that comes to my mind when it comes to the branding side of things is making sure that you have that trust factor in place. That reputation is exceeding what you want to deliver to your customer base, your audience. So making sure that you have the online reviews with Google, making sure that you have the recommendations on your social media platforms, and then any other citation or directories that you are listed in that you have an audience, it's important that you have a good reputation there as well.
Right on the money, dude. I can tell you as well, if I can jump into impactful, I just feel like there's something on my mind I want to share. So in terms of impact, at least from my perspective, companies need to start thinking about impact twofold, internally and externally. So from an internal perspective, it needs to be about taking care of your team. Your brand needs to stand for taking care of your company, your employees, your staff. I don't want to hear some BS about how you go out and give to wounded warriors or you're out there giving to Cancer Foundation for your own ego. If you want to build a business that's next level, you need to look out for the person on your staff that may not have a car, right? Start thinking about how you can help support that person, right? Or there's a person that has some challenges, right? That you kind of talk to on the back end and she'd like to keep it personal, right? So because you are a mission-driven leader, you do what you can to support that person, right? So, and it goes on. You can run through the examples, and if you're a leader, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. Pour into that. Don't look the other way. Pour right into that. And then in terms of externally, you should have a component where you publicly give in terms of you're doing things for a purpose, right? In terms of press releases and just making an impact in the community. There's no harm in photographs, videos. Like, that's what your customer base wants to see. So if you didn't do that stuff, you're not executing at the highest level. So don't be afraid to document that stuff. That's the real deal. Most people aren't doing it. What they're really doing is saying, I'm giving to this organization, and applaud me for it.
Yeah, they're checking the box.
Yeah, that's the wrong way to do it. So think about impactful from a twofold perspective. Take care of your staff, your team, everybody that's helping you build the business, but also make sure you're looking on the outside and doing the right sort of service as well.
Awesome. Johnny, excellent discussion today on branding. I think it's safe to say that just taking a look at the few points that we touched on today will certainly impact and benefit any small business. Tremendous value. Appreciate you again.
Yeah, man.
It's
right
awesome.
back at you, brother.
Yep.
Well, bro, until next time, I'm looking forward to diving into more marketing systems. I know we've got a ton of things on the agenda. Guys, stay tuned. 2023 is going to be epic. We plan on flying out to different states, talking to different influencers, reviewing different products, so on and so forth. Our goal, driving as much value as we can to the community, to our industry. So until next time, we out.